are lifted. Joining us to engage in conversation on this matter, one of our good friends, Michael Rubin from the American Enterprise Institute, author of the book Dancing with the Devil, The Perils of Engagement. Michael, we thank you so much for joining us again here on America's Forum.
Thank you, JP.
And we always monitor public opinion in this nation. I'm curious, what's going on in Russia? Will the economic problems cause the Russian people to turn against Mr. Putin?
Unfortunately, I don't think they will, but we should also recognize the economic problems aren't because of American sanctions. American sanctions are a drop in the bucket. The reason why you have such a poor economic outlook in Russia is, number one, the corruption surrounding Russian leader Vladimir Putin, and number two, he put all of his eggs in one basket in high oil prices. When they've crashed and he didn't diversify the economy, he has no one to blame but himself.
So, mindful of that, and the ruble, I don't know if it is in free fall, but if there are continued difficulties, what does that mean for Putin? Does he return to a kind of global adventurism that seems to buoy his standing with the Russian people? In other words, is this a more dangerous time because of the economic problems Russia is encountering?
This is an extremely dangerous time. The thing to understand about Russia, JD, is that Russians live in a bubble. Most of them, even if they have satellite television, for example, don't listen to any news sources beyond the Russian state TV. Therefore, they've been force-fed propaganda, and they actually believe it. One of the strategies which Vladimir Putin always has had is to rally people around the flag. He's done that successfully in Georgia, in the Ukraine, and even if he should resign tomorrow, the person who's most likely to succeed him, Dmitry Rogozin, is even more of a Russian nationalist than Vladimir Putin is.
David Rothkopf, who's the CEO and editor of the FP Group, was on MSNBC's Morning Joe discussing this continued economic decline in Russia. Let's listen to what he had to say and then get your reaction.
One of the things we need to worry about the most is what Putin does when the economy gets worse and worse. He has never proven particularly good at managing his economy, and if you end up with people unhappy or food lines or other kinds of things, will that drive him to be a little bit more erratic, or will it drive him to work better with the West?
Well, you have already said, Michael, you think this could be a very dangerous time, that Mr. Putin could engage in more adventurism. I'm curious, if you had to put down a checklist of the actions Putin might take to win approval in the Russian street and to engage in more of this global adventurism, where would be those areas of concern if you might rank them for us?
Well, I would be very worried about a repeat of the Ukraine with regard to Kazakhstan, which has a large ethnic Russian population in the north. But the most dangerous thing for the United States and for NATO would be a move into the Baltic states, simply because the Baltic states are not only members of the European Union, but also of NATO. That could be a direct challenge. And unfortunately, we live in an age where American red lines, many dictators believe, are pretty effervescent and optional.
Before you and I part company, this week, President Obama was interviewed by NPR. He did not rule out the possibility of putting an American embassy back in Tehran. As someone who spent some time in Iran, what do you make of this rhetorical stance?
Well, it shows that Obama doesn't really understand the problem with Iran. The problem isn't America. Enough with the self-flagellation. The problem is the ideology of the supreme leader. They have no desire for an American embassy in Iran. And should we put one in there, then it would just be asking diplomats to volunteer to be hostages again.
So what should be the stance with Iran? Do you expect, a related question, do you expect Mr. Obama and John Kerry to cave ultimately on sanctions against a nuclear Iran?
Well, I do. And what we need to recognize is there's not much difference between the economic situation inside Iran and that of Russia. The historic decline in gas and oil prices mean that we have an opportunity not to settle with the Islamic Republic of Iran, but to actually have Iranians throw off that yoke of dictatorship. And unfortunately, we're throwing a lifeline to a failing regime right now.
Well, it is a sober assessment for sobering times, and even so, as 2014 gives way to the new year of 2015, Michael Rubin, we wish you the happiest of New Year's, and we thank you very, very much for your time as you Skype in from the American Enterprise Institute in Washington, D.C. Again, Michael Rubin, the author of Dancing with the Devil, The Perils of Engagement. Now, let's switch topics to a more personal inventory, as in personal health. High-functioning food can help you stay healthy. What exactly is high-functioning food? It's an understandable question. I'm glad you asked it, and it will be explained to you in this Max to Health Minute.
Here's some food for thought. Studies show that nutrition affects brain development and function as people age. So what brain-boosting foods should you be adding to your shopping cart?
I think that avocado is a great one to incorporate in because it's high in monounsaturated fats, and it can help actually increase blood flow to the brain. I think that blueberries are very helpful as well. There's been lots of studies on blueberries. They have been known to reduce oxidative stress, and they can help reduce, possibly, Alzheimer's disease. And then lastly, I would say omega-3 fats found in fatty fish. Those also have been shown that they can possibly help prevent dementia, memory loss, and Alzheimer's disease.
If you're considering taking a multivitamin and a mineral complex supplement to help make a few of the essentials, talk with a local dietitian to see what works best for you.